Welcome to this video on transferring your adjusted final Brightspace grades to SIMS Peoplesoft once your course is completed at the New Brunswick Community College. So the first thing you're going to do is go inside of the course that you would like to submit the grades for, and then under the navigation bar, you're just going to select the grades option. And then once you're brought into the grades area, you just want to make sure that you're under the Enter Grades tab. And so when you're ready to submit your grades, I'm just going to scroll over here to the very far right. And so there's a couple things you need to do. The first step is just to verify that all of the grades are correct in Brightspace for your students. So just do a quick review of your gradebook to make sure everything is correct. The second thing you want to do is you want to verify that the grade scheme that's attached to the final adjusted grade column is the same one that's in your course outline and in SIMS. And so to check it, what you can do in Brightspace, you can just go under Final Adjusted Grade here. You're going to select the drop down and you're going to choose Edit. And so you can edit the Final Adjusted Grade column here, and you're just going to scroll down to here. It says Grade Scheme, and so it's going to give you an option here of grade schemes to select from. Now it's important to note that the percentage grade scheme is a default grade scheme out of the box from Brightspace, and it's one that we do not use here at the New Brunswick Community College, so do not select the percentage grade scheme, otherwise you'll receive errors. Then you'll be able to choose from the four other ones. There's the graded 0 to 100% grade scheme, the no grade 60% grade scheme, successful unsuccessful 60%, and successful unsuccessful 75%. So whichever grade scheme here is applicable to your course and in your course outline and at SIMS, that's the one you would choose. And so for the demonstration, I'm just going to choose this graded 0 to 100% and then press the Save and Close button. So now I've verified my student grades all look good, that the grade scheme is properly set up. And so now the next step is I'm going to scroll back over to the far right here, and I need to transfer all of my calculated grades here over to the adjusted column. So how I would do that is I would just select the little drop down here and then select Enter Grades. And so from there, there's a couple of ways that you can go and transfer your grades. You can do it on an individual basis by just pressing the little icon right here, this little icon pointing to the right. Or the second option is you can transfer all of the grades basically within a click of a couple of buttons. And how you would do that is you would just change your filtering here to show 200 per page, because what you want to do is you want to have all of your students showing here on this one page. So once you've done that, you can select all your students' name by just pressing this box here, so it'll select everyone. Then we're going to scroll back up to the top here where it says Final Grades, and we're going to select the drop down and choose to transfer all. So when we select transfer all, we're going to get this confirmation here. And so when you get the confirmation, you're just going to select yes. And so you'll see here that it successfully transferred all of the grades. Now, a couple of things that I want to point out. The number one thing is that due to systems syncing during the noon hour, you shouldn't make changes to your Brightspace final adjusted grade configurations between 11:30 a.m. and 1 p.m. Otherwise, you'll get errors, and those errors will be basically they'll resolve themselves in the next sync, but you'll want to avoid those errors so you don't feel you've done something wrong. So just avoid transferring grades from the calculated to the adjusted column over the noon hour. And so when verifying the grades here, you'll see here the second student got an 83.6. The grade scheme will just automatically round that up to an 84. Now, let's say that you have a student that needs to receive an incomplete in the course. So this last student here, maybe we need to give them an incomplete. So how you would do that is you would give them a score of 1 out of 100. So a 1 out of 100 represents that incomplete. And so one thing to note about the incomplete is that once the student does finish the course, you'll need to submit something called a grade change request form to have their final grade updated in SIMS, as you can only pass the grades from Brightspace to SIMS once, and that applies to basically all students. So if you have to adjust the grades or resubmit the grades at any point after they've been originally submitted, you will have to submit that grade change request form. Now, for auditing or modified outcome students, we don't have a specific grade scheme for those two scenarios at the New Brunswick Community College. So what you would do is, as an instructor, you can either give the student a grade, or you can leave the value blank as long as your department, specifically the academic chair admin assistant, has changed the grading scheme within SIMS for that one student prior to you submitting your grades. So in that case, the grade sync process will automatically know and post the audit or modified outcome value in the final grade roster in SIMS for that student. And so once we've verified our final adjusted grades, everything looks good in here. The last step I want to do in Brightspace here before I go into SIMS is I want to go and I want to release the final grades to the students in Brightspace. So again, I can do it on an individual basis by just checking off the released here. And so what this will do is it'll show the student their final grade here within Brightspace. Or if you'd like to do everybody at once, you can go and select the box here to check off everyone's name. And there's an option here for release, unrelease. So if I select that, you'll see everyone's name here was selected. And then we're ready to do a save and close. You're about to save your changes. You're just going to say yes. And so I'm just going to scroll over here to the far right again, and I can see now all of my final calculated grades have been successfully moved over to the final adjusted grade column here. I can see this little open eye icon letting me know that the final grade is released to the students. And for the last student here, they received that 1 out of 100. I can see an IC, which represents the incomplete. And so now I'm ready to go and log into Student Self-Service and submit my grades to SIMS. And so how you would do that is you would just go to the NBCC.ca website, and then you're just going to go under the Student Self-Service option here. And so when you're in the login page here for SIMS, it's important to note that in the user ID field here, what you're going to do is just fill in your first name dot last name. You don't put at nbcc.ca or anything like that. You just put in your user ID. So first name dot last name, your NBCC password in the password field here, and then simply press the sign in option. And so once it signs you into SIMS, what you're going to do is you're going to go into the upper right hand corner, and there's this little nav bar icon here. So you're going to select the nav bar icon, you're going to select the option that says Navigator, and then you're going to choose the self-service option. And then you're going to scroll down. The very last one here says NB Brightspace Final Grades to SIMS. So you're going to select that option. And when the screen opens up here, you'll see for this instructor that they have a list of courses here that they've previously submitted and have been processed. So just to explain all of the columns here, the first term column here, this represents the term code right here, this 1224. The second column here is the class number that's coming from SIMS. So 1471 here is the class number. This is the date and time stamp right here when the grades were processed in SIMS, so 5/31/22 at 1:01 p.m. And then in the process right here, it has a Y for yes. Now you'll notice here in the third column right here, you've got the term code here, you've got the class number, and in the process, it has an N for no. And in the processing notes, so this course here received an error. And so it says here, the class has no eligible final calculated grades to process. Please ensure that the grading scheme in Brightspace is the same as it is in SIMS. And so in this case, the error is that that grade scheme in Brightspace that we talked about earlier doesn't match the one that's in the course outline. So that's why it's very important to verify that. Otherwise, you'll receive this error. And so to fix this error, all the instructor would need to do is go into Brightspace and basically adjust their grade scheme for the final adjusted grade to the proper one, and then it will correct this and change it to from the process right here, from the N to the Y, and then the grades will be successfully processed. Now it's worth noting that the grade sync process does a lot of kind of error checking on the back end to avoid incorrect grades from being posted. So once the grades are officially posted, as I mentioned before, any changes must be submitted to Student Services by your department through that grade change request form. And if there is a problem with your configuration, basically there's two ways you'll see it. You'll see it here in the processing notes right here, and you'll also receive an email from the system, and it'll come from the email address ea.process@nbcc.ca with the subject line that says, please edit your grade setup in Brightspace, highlighting that there is an issue with your Brightspace configuration. And this message will give you some information as to things to check in Brightspace. So for example, in the processing notes here, it tells the instructor that the grading scheme doesn't match, so they just need to go and fix that. And so when you're ready to add your courses, you're just going to simply press the little plus icon here. So you'll see it just adds the term row here and autofills the term code here for me. So this is the term code for the current term. So it's important to note that if you need to submit grades for a course from a previous term, you will need to adjust this term code. Otherwise, if it is a current term you're submitting for, it's automatically filled here. Then you need to select the class number. So there's two ways you can get the class number. You can select the little magnifying glass icon right here, and so it's going to bring you up a list of courses right here that are currently under your name, and so you can select one of those. And if you aren't sure of the exact course number that you are submitting for, what you can do is you can go back into Brightspace, and within Brightspace you can just hover over the name of the course here, and you can see it gives that code 1221-0000, or you can also get it by just clicking on the Edit Course button within your Brightspace course and then selecting Course Offering Information. And then under the course offering name, you'll see the course right here. So again, the first four numbers here, this 1221, that's going to be the term code, and the last four numbers here are going to represent the class number. And so now I'm going to go back into the grade submission screen here, and I'm going to go and I'm going to select the class. So for example, I want to select submit the grades here for the 1631 course. So I select that, it adds it to the list here, and then once I'm ready, I can just press the save button, or if I have more courses to add, I can press the plus icon here to add those courses. Now, if at any time you realize that you've added the wrong course here and you need to make any changes, as long as the processed shows as an N, you can go and you can remove the course from the list here by just pressing, there's a little minus icon over here on the far right. So I can select the minus icon. It'll give me a message here that it's going to remove that item from the page, and you can click OK. You can see here it's removed it. And now any course that you add to the list here, it's again going to show as N for about 12 to 24 hours. So what you need to do is when you add your courses to this screen, you need to come in the next day to verify that in the process screen it's changed it from the N to the Y, because what happens is the grade sync process runs overnight, and so you're going to see an N until the next day, and then you'll go in and just verify that it is a Y, and that will tell you that yes, your grades have been successfully processed. And so many instructors at NBCC teach the same course to multiple classes at the same time. And so for easier administration in Brightspace, the classes have been combined into a single Brightspace shell, otherwise known as a combined section course. So you can configure and release your grades for all classes at once in Brightspace. However, when you log into this SIMS screen, to trigger the grade sync process, you must enter each individual class number. And so a couple of ways you can find those class numbers is when I press the little plus icon here to add the courses, it adds the term here. I can select the magnifying glass right here. And for example, if I teach a pharmacology section course in Brightspace, it's going to give me those courses right here for the term. So I know I need to select both this 1755 and 1883 course. But to verify those numbers, what I can do is I can go back into Brightspace. So I've got this pharmacology course in Brightspace, and where I can get the section information for all those courses I need to submit is I can go under the communication button within the Brightspace course, go under class list, and once under the class list it says view by right here under the add participants button. I'm going to view by sections, and then I'm just going to press the apply button, and then it'll show me the section numbers here. So again, that 1224 at the beginning is the code for the term. The 1755 is that class number we need. Now, all the sections that are listed in here will have 01 at the end, so you can just ignore that 01. The important numbers here is the 1755 and the 1883. So I know I need to go and submit those two in the grade submission screen there in SIMS. So I'll go back into SIMS, I'll select that 1755 course, and then I'm just going to add the second section here, the 1883, and now both of those have been added, and then I can just press the save button again, and then 24 hours or the next day essentially you can go in, check the grade sync area here, and just verify that in the process screen it is showing as a Y. And so if you have any questions or concerns regarding the grade sync process, feel free to contact the NBCC Help Desk anytime by going to helpdesk.nbcc.ca and selecting the Online Learning and D2L Brightspace option from the service catalog. So this concludes the tutorial on submitting your final adjusted Brightspace grades to SIMS Peoplesoft at the New Brunswick Community College.